Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with interesting and inspiring people like our new friend here, Dr. Michelle, to help our listeners, that's you, find the resources, tools, and support they need to be their best inspired selves. Hi, Dr. Michelle. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We're just prepped before the interview. I was telling you it's Wisconsin and sunny, so I'm thrilled.
Good, 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 good.
Well, we had just the greatest conversation. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to connect. You do a lot of things. So could you just take a moment to let the audience know who is Dr. Michelle and how do you help serve the world right now?
Well, I help singles and couples emotionally heal, connect deeper through intimacy, and basically just live authentically. In this climate right now of what we are going through, imagine being quarantined all day, every day with your spouse that you're not accustomed to that. So you find out a lot of things that maybe you've even been married for 10 years or 20 years. And you're like, wait, what? Like, you do that? You really think that? And so now people are being forced to have a lot of tough conversations. You have mommies that are getting burned out, and so it's really important that we connect to our self care and putting yourself on your calendar at least for an hour to prevent you from getting burned out. We have people that are single that maybe their family is in a different state or they don't have any support because it's just them. And so they are feeling like really alone and isolated. So my business actually, like we were discussing, has really elevated because there's so much stress, there's so much anxiety, and we don't do very well when we are uncertain about what's going to happen because then what happens is we really feel that we have no control. And then that makes us very antsy. What I also like to say, though, and just kind of give your listeners a different perspective, is that while I went through my own funk, for about 2 weeks when this was happening, the fear, the anxiety, all of that, it has really given me time to take a step back and see this almost as a little bit of a gift. In the sense of this, is that it's allowed me to really pause. And that's something that I've given to my clients is think about this as a pause. When do you get a moment that you actually can just take a moment to think about things that maybe you've been putting off, to do things that you've been putting off, like for years and years and years, and now you actually have time to do it. What about the process that we all have had to surrender to? And, that's taken a lot of patience, but we've all had to surrender to that process. And I think in going through the process, you get clear. And that is connected to your purpose, whether you know it or not. A lot of people have to find what their purpose is at this point. And then I think after that, we get a chance to reset. And that's something that's really been a gift to me is that I get a chance to really reset a lot of different things at one time. Because I have to give myself a do over every day. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, we got to do this over again. Because maybe there was something the day prior that, I didn't do so good on that one. So I think if everybody just kind of looks at this and says, I get a do over, it does kind of bring a smile to your face that you have control over that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been, what I've seen in the last like 2.5 months.
Yeah, I think I love the point that you made. My husband and I have been married we're going on our 20th year. And yeah, I know it's like we've been together longer than we haven't at this point. Um, but even with us having been married that long, being home with all four kids both of us being home, right? So, when one of you are home, the kids usually default to one parent, or and now both of them are there, but there's still a default parent, right? So there's like all this new stress. It's new. We've never had all of us home other than vacation, right? Maybe you have a vacation where at the end of vacation we're all glad to go back to work, right?
Right.
And now we're like, okay, 2.5 months later. So we've found ourselves in some new situations, like finding new ways to communicate. And even I think a lot of people are struggling with finances, right? Every day that they're stuck at home and they're not working, and usually the husband was working.
Yeah.
It's a new paradigm shift and a new something a lot of people are always thoughtful of, where before it wasn't quite as heavy. So I can definitely see how your services would be extremely helpful in this new time. It's a new time for all of us. But good things can come out of it, right? Now my kids, my husband and I are both doing dishes. We're both cooking. We're both, doing laundry. The kids see that both men and women can do all of the different types of things. Sons and daughters, right? Everybody's getting an opportunity. I think to embrace their humanity,
Mhm.
even where we're like, my one daughter's, she's very anxious right now. Just in general, she's a bit anxious, but more so now. And I was like, Ava, honey, everyone's going through this though.
Yeah.
They're going to fail 8th grade because you didn't put in a math assignment. Like everybody is trying to adjust, right? So I think that there's that opportunity to really realize that when you have to go through something as a human being,
Mhm.
you can go, oh, wait, what if other people are feeling like this too?
Yeah.
So I think our children are all going to have a new perspective
Yeah.
that we didn't have the opportunity to
Mhm.
have this perspective, whereas they will, and so we can try to look at it in that aspect if it's helpful.
Yeah. I've been doing some lives on IG about quarantine date night. And boy, have we come up with some creative things.
That's lovely too. And something I never thought about. I thought I was more social than I am, but I'm actually doing fine. So I have some friends that are like, oh, I got to talk to other people. But I've
Yeah.
even seen people dancing, like they're getting on their Zoom calls and dancing their little hearts out. And I'm like, I won't even do that now. Like, like, well, way to go for you guys. So
Right.
giving
Right.
you a way to just, you can still just be, but still be around people that you care about. That's fine. And I
Absolutely.
think you shared too, like your mom, right? I think you had shared with being able to see your mom after a long time and how much you
Yes,
appreciated that.
I did. I just, you don't know sometimes how much you appreciate something until you don't get to touch it and to connect with it. Like I just held her so long, and I'm comfortable with doing that yesterday because I know that she had followed the rules and she had really been quarantined for these 2.5 months, and so had I. And it was just great to touch her, to feel her, to connect and feel that I was safe. I felt like five again. So it was just great. It was great to, bring her like her favorites, and we were just able to, eat together and watch movies. And that was like so important. It was so priceless to me. So yeah, it gave me another just a deeper appreciation for even my mom. So that's why I said, it's been a bit of a gift too going through this.
Yeah. So on the not as amazing, but turning out to be great side, it wasn't just you have a lot of other things going on in your life. So is there something that might have got derailed for you that you were hoping would go one way and now you've had to find a new way to show up with that happening in your life?
Yes, definitely. So about 2 years of the book, The Self Vows. So I wrote the book, The Vows. That was for couples. And so that was great, but in the middle of the vows, I ended up having a mini stroke. So I was really hopeful, that meaning like the marketing of it. So I had this mini stroke that slowed down everything. So I'm like, okay, the self files will come out, years later, but the self files will come out and we'll do this. We'll get to do this book tour, kind of like a redeem for what we didn't get to do with the vows. And then it was released on March the 2nd. That was my dad's birthday. I was like, oh, it's a great sign. March 5th was my birthday, and I had it physically in my hands. So I was so excited, so overwhelmed. And then the next week, we were quarantined. And I was going like, this is not happening. Like, what is going on? So my heart dropped. For 2 weeks, I was just in a funk because I was like, not again, not again. But this time, I really had to talk to myself like, okay, girl, listen, it's happening. You can't do anything about it. What can you do to stretch yourself? What can you do that's different, that you're not accustomed to? And so now, with a couple of people from my team, what we came up with is we are going to do a virtual line. So, we're going to get dressed up as if we were actually doing the book tour. We are going to, we'll probably do it on live, so on Facebook Live, on IG Live. And the women that were featured in the book, they're going to come on live. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have the tough conversations. We're going to do raffles. We're going to play music. We're just going to have a good old time. The only difference is it will be virtually. So this is a new space for me. We are hoping and praying for the best, but at least I'm not just folding and saying, okay, well, we can't do the book tour. I guess whenever we get to do it, we'll do it. But I'm like, no, we need to get this message out still. So I'm excited about that part because it has been a restructuring. And, that's my reset, a reset for just my thinking, that I had to shift my mind a little bit, a whole lot of it differently than what I was accustomed to doing. So I'm stretching myself as everybody is. I'm stretching myself to do stuff on Zoom too.
Yeah.
So
I think that's beautiful. So, I mean, even doctors, right? Even Dr. Michelle's like, oh, I was so disappointed, and oh, this thing could have gone this way. But there's a lot to be said for like thinking yourself straight a little bit, or finding a new path. That's like you said, Zoom's not your thing. You were going to go out and have all this beauty, fun, excitement. Well, now you still are. You're just using a new vehicle.
yes, absolutely. And guess
That's
what?
awesome.
The last time when I went through the mini stroke and my voice was slurred and all that stuff. But I think back to that, and I didn't have that shift then. I almost just kind of said, oh, well, I guess it just didn't happen. But now that being in quarantine and dealing with COVID-19 is interesting. I then have this shift. So that's why I keep going back to, it's been a bit of a gift for me.
Good. That's beautiful. Well, you never know where the gifts are going to come from, right? Right.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think like even with the vows, right? The book coming out, the vow. I saw. I just want to bring up one last thing before you go, but it was this beautiful testimonial on your website from a man that had said he really thought his marriage was over, and then he sat with you. He and his wife sat with you, and they learned what their vows really meant, and that shifted for them, right? This shift from what they thought they were to what they are, and not only did they not break up, but they renewed their vows, and kind of a happily ever after story. So it almost seems like you've gone through all of this stuff, Dr. Michelle, and the mini stroke and the book launch delay and all this, just so your mess can be that message of shifting where you are to where you need to be so you can accomplish what you want.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. Is that couple? I know exactly who you're speaking of. I actually renewed their vows because I'm a wedding officiant.
Oh, beautiful.
In addition to all this other stuff, but I renewed their vows, and that was so special to me. And I have found though is that in going in like over 500 couples, the common denominator is this: that the reason why people have such conflict and challenges in relationships is, I feel, that they haven't taken their own self back. And that's why I wrote the self vows. I had to write it. I wish I would have wrote it first and then the vows after that. But, just going through the process of all of those couples, I realized, oh, okay, to have and to hold from this day forward. Well, if I don't have everything about myself, the good, bad, indifferent, and the flaws and all, how in the world can I have compassion for you to accept you where you are? To hold, to support. If I can't be my own cheerleader, then I'm going to always look for you to find the greatness in me, which I call that like a toxic vampire where I suck all the energy out of and from this day forward, if I have a problem with letting things go, if I hold grudges, if I have to stir in it about 10 days before I'll talk to you, then I'm going to show up in the relationship that way. And we're not going to be able to move forward and give each other a do over every day. And so that's why I had to write the self vows, because regardless whether you're married, whether you haven't been married, everybody, man, woman, needs to take their self vows first. And then you'll show up more authentic in any relationship, whether that's family, whether it's friendship, whether it's a spouse, whether it's motherhood, whatever title you're wearing. So that's what I found though in speaking to a lot of different couples, is that they hadn't taken the self vows.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. Well, we've got to wrap up. We've got to run off to the next appointments we both have. Would you
Yeah,
mind letting the audience know, like, how they can find you and your books if they're looking to do a little bit more self-care or be better in love?
yeah, sure. So you can go to my website, michellerhanna.com. So that's MichelleRhanah.com. You can find me on Instagram at Michelle_R_Hanna. You can find me on Facebook under my company's name, Mikel Life Coaching. That's Mikel Life Coaching. And lastly, please go to Amazon, purchase the book, The Self Vows. I would love for you to leave me a review because I want to know your thoughts. I really want to know what you thought about it. And lastly, come and join us for the book launch. You can go right on over to my Instagram or Facebook, and there'll be information there. And we are running a contest where you can win $350. So visit me. Come on. We would love.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. I look forward to staying in touch and reading your book.
Yes, absolutely,
All right,
Jackie. Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.